Namaskar, everyone. Can we get Suresh ji up on the screen as well? Now, Namaskar, Suresh ji. Now, just
Namaskar.
before we welcome you, predictably it falls on three chartered accountants to talk about data. But, but on a serious note, I think there are deeper cultural issues we are trying to resolve here. I was having a discussion with my friend yesterday on how we Desis are terrible at both giving compliments and receiving compliments. And when the world paints us in a bad light, we just live by it. Because filmon mein kaha jata hai ki no sorry, no thank you. Now, data reveals is a way to assess what we should be complimenting ourselves about. We are very, very proud to associate with the Rashtam School for Public Leadership, with the Rishihood University, which you lead, sir. We're very proud they take a civilizational view. Shobit ji, Sahil ji have become friends over time, which I'm very glad for. I leave it to Mohan Das ji to, both of you are educators now. So I leave it to Mohan Das ji to talk about data reveals, but just a quick summary of the program with Rashtram. We had over 200 applicants from 6 different countries. The diversity was amazing. We had undergrad students, PhDs who are on their postdoctoral journeys. We had retired teachers and professors that had joined the program. And finally, we are graduating 58 as just the beginning of a journey where we all collectively set the narrative. With that, over to Mohan Das ji to make a quick couple of opening comments and then invite Suresh ji to deliver the convocation address.
Folks, we are very lucky to have Minister Suresh Prabhu come and deliver this convocation address. I have great admiration and respect for Minister Suresh Prabhu for many things. First of all, he walks the talks. He's a man of extraordinary high principles, a man of extraordinary ability, very high intellect, a great communicator, an innovator, and a person who comes out with lateral thoughts. Every time you talk to him, you come out refreshed, full of hope for the country, full of hope for the future. His passion for speech, his passion in convincing you, in putting points across is unbelievable. You come back with new energy and new hope. I will call him the Minister for Hope for India. I think every young person in this country should listen to Minister Prabhu to understand the future of this country. Yes, we are all been born in poor circumstances. We have seen a very poor India, but we've seen extraordinary growth. We've seen the rise of a new India. And this new India has been built by people like Mr. Suresh Prabhu, who were people in the economic area trying to improve the economic might, but you gave it up for public service. He has served as a minister in the Vajpayee government, and he has done some extraordinary work. He's right now the Sherpa for the Global 20, and during his long career, both in business and in public service, he has been a beacon of hope for us and always positive. Because in this country, you always come with negative narrative. There's a group of people in Lutyens, Delhi, I want to name them, who are experts in negative narratives. India is a $3 trillion economy, will be a $5 trillion economy. Can you imagine who gave the 5 million target? Minister Suresh Prabhu. When he was the commerce minister, he was the one who worked on it. He is the one who gave the model. He is the one who told us we can do it. And nobody believed that. And now we're going to make it. And he's going to be there to make sure that we make it. And Suresh Ma'am, I'm going to tell you, you must give us a new target of $10 trillion by 2030. And we'll make it happen, Suresh Ma'am. It will happen. Because, the young people of this country are rising up. They want to make this new India. We got a great leadership in Delhi. You are there, and they will make it happen. And this whole convocation is about, getting a group of young people together who believe in data, who believe in the new idea of India. You believe in the India, which is Ram Raja for everybody, and who will make that India happen. And your role, Suresh Ma'am, is to make sure that they stay inspired, and you make sure they work very hard, 24/7, and you make sure they build the new India for all the tips. Thank you very much, and over to Mr. Suresh Prabhu.
So thank you, my dear friend. And you can make out from the way he was describing me, he's my real long-time good friend. And so is Anurag, my another dear friend. So thank you very much for, firstly, organizing this extremely important event. I must congratulate Rashtram, as the name itself indicates, and the nomenclature encompasses the entire vision of the Rashtram School of Governance. We talk about government and governance, but both government and governance have to have some relationship with a much wider body, wider issue. What is that institution of which you are a government, or what is that government of a particular entity that you are trying to deliver through governance? So both have to have relationship with Rashtra, the nation. If there is no nation, if there is a lawlessness, there is no institution, obviously there is no government. There can be landmass which people can claim to be theirs, but anybody can claim that, anybody can reclaim that, anybody can fight for it because there is no government, there is no governance. So Rashtram is actually trying to provide us guidance, relevance to this whole concept of what we should stand for. Because when we start discussing government and governance, we tend to forget what is it related to. And therefore, I must congratulate and thank Rashtram School for organizing this event. I'm very happy that this is housed in Vishuddha University, a university which is actually also stands for values, for certain principles, certain ideals, and a much loftier mission. I hope all of us will be able to work together to accomplish this loftier mission to a much, much stronger, better, healthier, and happier for people who are living in it. So let me congratulate them to begin with. I'm very happy that a very distinguished panel just spoke about very related to data and its allied issues. First, let me qualify my statement and disclose that the government is trying to prepare a law, a bill has been drafted for data protection, data privacy of data, and all of that. I am on the Joint Parliamentary Committee, which was appointed to look into this entire proposed legislation. So therefore, I want to disclose that I'm part of it. So I'm not going to tell you anything about what is there in the bill because that is still under examination by the Joint Parliamentary Committee. But let me also stress the importance of data because now everything is revolving around it. The digital economy and digital way of living has become a reality. It's only going to intensify, going to multiply, and no one can stop it. I always tell this to my friends that technology, penetration of it, once it is discovered somewhere, it is impossible you can stop it from entering your own home, your own life, your own society, your own country. It is like saying, I'm going to close my doors, close my windows so that air will not enter my house. It is as difficult as that to say that I will not allow technology penetration in my country. And one of the key drivers, the platform on which any future technology will develop, are also digital platforms. Any new emerging technologies, somewhere down the line, they have relationship with digital technology. And a digital life in which inevitably will be creating, producing, generating a huge data. It's a footprint that we leave. On my other real good interest, and I will do by it, is a challenge the world is facing on climate change. There we always say that carbon footprints happen because of human life. Every time you travel by whatever mode, you leave some carbon footprint. Every time you have manifestation of your lifestyle, you leave some carbon footprint. But same way, we also leave a data footprint somewhere down the line in the digital economy. And the digital economy, there's impossible that one can opt out of it, can live out of it, and can say nothing to do with it, including the most secluded countries in the world. Maybe North Korea cannot even say that we don't generate data. They will actually, in fact, there is allegation. I don't know how far it is true for any country can make allegation, but some countries make allegation against other countries that you are trying to make cyber attacks on my system for what? For stealing data, information. So data is something which you leave behind. The way you live in your life automatically generates. It's a co-generation. And that co-generation is posing some challenges. Firstly, the corporate sector, the technology providers, the innovators, because of them, this whole possibilities of data has existed. It has been there because of this. They developed some technology. If there's no technology, we would not be discussing today about data at all. So the creators of this technology must be first commended because we live by that system. We accepted it, we embraced it. So we must acknowledge it, we must commend it also. So on one side, we have to thank them, and other side, we have to worry about it. We thank them for having created something like this, which is now becoming integral part of our life. At the same time, it is also creating some serious issues and challenges. And one of that is privacy. I was saying earlier that the concept of Rashtra is a much bigger issue. But a kind of Rashtra that we all envision, we want to live in it, is wherein there will be respect for each and every citizen in that Rashtra. A human being makes Rashtra. And Rashtra becomes a much bigger and higher plane. But that doesn't mean that individuals will not be respected or will not be cared for in that Rashtra. The main important part of that is respecting the citizen's right to have a privacy. Anybody can say that I don't want to reveal, and this is the data reveals program, something which I feel is very important. Now, what every person feels important, it will different from person to person. Now, there is always a trade-off that how much of individual freedom of deciding what I should reveal and what should not, and how much of a national interest, the Rashtra's interest, should prevail over it. It's always a trade-off. That you give so much of freedom that maybe the long overall objective of Rashtra gets compromised. But if you don't give any freedom, and if you don't allow a citizen to decide how much I should reveal, the whole purpose of Rashtra is get defeated. So we have to have a very fine-tuned balance between the two, ensuring that larger national interest, Rashtra's interest prevails without compromising with individuals' right of privacy. And therefore, this particular data protection bill I talked about is trying to focus on this aspect. To what extent the fundamental right of a citizen to have privacy should be ceded in favor of a larger national interest. We have to have that very important compromise. But coming back to the point, that this new technology development is posing challenges. And one of them, as I said, is about privacy. Technology is always welcome because that brings in new ideas, innovation. That's how the human mind always works. It is never static, always dynamic, tries to think about new things. And all human beings always strive for something new in their life. Not necessarily good or bad, but something different, something new. And that is what even nature is like that. Nature is full of diversity, biodiversity, different colors, different plants, different species. So human beings always will like to have new things, different things, and therefore technology will always keep evolving, keep changing, keep developing. So we must welcome it. But while we do this, we should always keep in mind that technology welcome, but its ill effects need to be regulated, particularly the ethical side of it. And I'm not saying only in terms of digital technologies related to we generate data or other. Of course, all will generate data. In any case, what you call data is a different matter, but something will always get generated. But ethical side of technological development is very important. Whether even in artificial intelligence. While we welcome it, how do you ensure that technologies will adhere to certain ethical standards? The challenge in these ethical standards is ethics is a very relative term. In different societies, at different times, the same society at different times will think about ethical issues differently. So, but while it is true, and I'm not getting into that, it's a long debate, but let us look at how to ensure ethical side of technological development is very important. So even in Data Reveals, the program that we organized today, one of the principal driving force and thinking going beyond data would be, while data will come, data has to come, data will be generated and in huge quantity. You cannot even imagine the kind of data that is being generated even without a knowledge, without my consent. But while we all do all this, how do you ensure that ethical side of it is guaranteed? The individual's right of protection is properly taken care of. It's a very important thing that we must always keep in mind. Other side of it is related to individual and society is one side. Individual and nation, Rashtra, is another relationship which has to be seen from the eyes of data. Individual and society, forget government. Can my neighbor have a right to know everything about me? The government is not involved. But it is only between me and my rest of my neighborhood, my society in which I live. How much they should know about me, what I should be knowing, how much data they should have access to. Many issues like that will also come in. Not necessarily because of data, but now data is bringing those issues to fore more prominently than before. So relationship of individual with society, relationship of individual with government, relationship of society collectively with the government are all important issues which are now creating different kind of narratives and debates in the country, all countries in the world. It's not only India. In fact, European Union passed a law on data privacy some years ago. But there's other new interesting debate that is emerging is about media. Earlier, the media was, you want to know something, then you have to wait. In fact, there's a very interesting story. Mahatma Gandhi was sick, and the only way people could know about his health was through radio. Not many radio was available. So I was elected 4 times Lok Sabha from Konkan. So there was one radio available in a place called Kankauli. So people will walk maybe 40, 100 miles, 50, 40, 50, just come there from a post office there, so that's what they could know. Go back asking only, how is he Gandhiji now? Oh, he's okay, fine. Then he'll go back and then he'll give that news to somebody else. That's the only source of dissemination of information through media. Then newspapers and then now TV. But even then, it was, now breaking news has become a new norm. I don't know whose heads, whose soul, whose bodies, whose mind gets broken. But even more, so breaking news has changed completely because we get it instantly. True or false is a different thing. I think that is what another issue that we need to discuss. Maybe in 1 minute I'll talk about it. But from radio, television, newspapers to all this now come new form of social media, in which the journalist who had the exclusive ability to communicate news, now everybody has become a journalist. We call them citizen journalists, whatever. But now every person in the world can give his opinion, his news on social media. It's a very good thing. It's a thought of expression which comes to fore. And why only few people must have the exclusive ability to give information, give news. It's like always I keep saying that when I was growing up, I was in school, somebody said he's a thinker. I said, what is thinker? Every person, even a laborer, is a thinker. Unfortunately, doesn't get time to think as much as the so-called thinkers get because he has to put labor to earn money, where the thinker can think and make money. But every person is a thinker. The same way, every person must have the ability to information. So there's nothing wrong with that. But that has posed another issue. How do you ensure that this information does not damage somebody else? A false narratives get created. So how to validate any information, any news, anything that gets into public domain, how can you validate it? So data can provide answer to this. This is something which we should try to think about seriously, and data reveals is something which can focus on it in a great deal. I feel we must use our ability or knowledge or technologies to also create, as my dear friend Mohandas ji said, but some positivity in society. I'm not saying positivity for government, positivity for political parties, positivity for any, nothing. I'm talking about positivity generally. Because even doctors will tell you that if you want to avoid a disease or conquer a disease, you must be positive. Even for medicines to show results on your body, the positive mind helps. The negative minds will ensure definitely that will repel possibility of getting cured. So developing and not saying false positive, real positive. It's only a question of how to look at it. Let's take Mohandas Pai, he's a chartered accountant, very successful professional in corporate sector, now very successful in his business. You are also my colleague on the board of Manipal University. And I've seen he always will talk about how to do things better, bigger, nicer. So I'm not talking about positivity means take the negativity out of a reality. No. I'm saying reality to be positioned in positive way without putting spin on it. I'm not saying put spin on it, but just positivity. Like he talked about $5 trillion economy. I can tell you, I have prepared a document as a commerce minister that is 101% doable. That's a question, how many years? That's a question. I agree with you. I never, in fact, even when I presented a paper, I never claimed that it's going to happen in such a such period. It depends upon growth rate. But I prepared a strategy also to increase growth rate, both at national level as well as bottoms up approach by district led growth. Again, I'm not going to discuss all this today, but I'm saying positivity based on data can become a booster for societies. Data, reality, no concoction, nothing. Absolutely put it as it is. But pick up something, because in my mind, right now when I'm talking, it's always a duality. Right and wrong always fight with each other. Whether I should smoke, I should drink, I should eat non-veg. One mind will say don't, one mind will say yes. Whether I should fight with this person, one might say let it go, how does it matter? He has said something. Otherwise, no, you must conquer, you must. So duality always is, but in society, we can pick up the real good part and try to put it up through a data analysis, not analysis, just take it out and try to do it. That again can be made towards it. I would have loved to talk even much longer on this issue. I love this part. But let me congratulate my young students who opted for this program. And as you were saying, so many applied. That shows the growing interest of my young friends into the whole issue related to data. And this program is I'm very happy that data reveals. Like the great souls of the world, it is the day of revelation. They could peep into themselves, and for them, the reality revealed. I think for you also, through this program, you'll be able to achieve a higher plane of thinking, and the revelation will come to you about what you really need to do and use data as a tool. See, firstly, this is very important. Data is only a tool. It cannot be the mission that I am now in world to create more data. Fine. I mean, if somebody wants to do that, there's nothing wrong. Everybody has a right to do what he feels appropriate. But data is a tool. You must hold it in your hands. It's not allowed to rule you, but you must be able to use it for the betterment of the society, betterment of your own self, and build a better Rashtra. So how do you do that? It's something which all of you must have learned during the course of this very important period. I'm very honored by the fact that you invited me to deliver this convocation address. I have done that in many institutions within India as well as abroad on many different platforms. But I think this is the very first time, probably, I am delivering a convocation address for friends on data-related issues, which is the most emerging issue. Everything will be very related to data. Health data, data about GDP growth, data about almost anything. Data about whether I was in parliament on so many days or not, I was out, whatever, every data. So data is data. Use it for a good of society, good of yourself is an opportunity, challenge. Or use it for wrong of it is also something what people can do. Now your job will be to demarcate that line between what is good and what is bad. As they always say, the wisdom, those who hold wisdom, those who possess wisdom are the ones who can draw that line well. And that is what I meant by ethical part of it. So let me congratulate you, all my young students, for having participated in this program. Let me congratulate the faculty in the Rashtam. Let me also congratulate all those brilliant minds who participated into various panel programs, which is also part of education. In fact, this whole idea of education will be delivered through such distinguished people coming there. You can call them guest faculties or others, and contributing to this whole process of enlightening and enriching our thinking on this subject. So let me stop here, because you all are far more better equipped to deal with such issues than me. I'm an old man. You're all youngsters. You have many more years to go. You'll do very well in life. I'm very sure about it. And I must also tell you before you draw your conclusion that Mohandas and Anurag, both being my fellow Chartered and friends, don't accept what they told about me, because they told me good things about me only because they are my friends. So it's my friendly advice to you. Don't accept their friendly comments. And we'll work together in years to come to build a healthy database society. Everything has to be based on something validation. We can actually use data for validation. So we can use that. But let me congratulate you once again. Thank you once again. And I'm very honored by the fact that Rashtam School is doing such a great thing with which I have some very remote association. I hope that remoteness goes and I become closer to these ideas. Thank you very much. God bless you all.
Thank you, Minister Suresh Mam. Folks, Suresh Mam and I are Konkanis. We speak a language called Konkani, and there we address a person who is elder and who is a thought leader as Mam. Thank you, Minister Suresh Mam. Folks, Minister Suresh Prabhu has told us some extraordinary things. Use data. Data reflects reality. Data can be good, used for the good of society or for the bad of society. Use it for the good of society. Technology is amazing. Use technology, but always use technology for the good of society. Be positive. Think of the Rashtra. Think of the nation. Because if India grows, all of us grow. And Suresh Mam is an outstanding example of a person who has always put his country first. His whole life is a service. How to make India better. Better not for himself, better for everybody. Because, we are living in the land of Rama, Sri Rama. And Rama always spoke about Rama Raja. Rama Raja, not to make Sri Rama a greater king, a more powerful king, not to conquer the world, but to make sure that every person living in the land can live with dignity and have the necessities of life. And that is what Suresh Mam has devoted his life to. And that's why what an extraordinary person who gave us the vision of $5 trillion. And now he speaks about how data can make it happen. You're all going to inherit a $5 trillion, $10 trillion economy. And he's not a senior citizen. He's very, very young. His mind is young and is optimistic. Take that optimism and do well, and wish you all the best. I think extraordinary talk, Suresh Mam. Very, very inspiring, very passionate. Thank you very much. Over to Anurag for the closing talk.
So I'm going to take, although I am not Konkani, I'm going to take the liberty of calling both of you Mohandas Mam and Suresh Mam. It's always a joy listening to you. It's always joy. You see, at a personal level, what is exciting to me, and this is something that I've asked Mohandas ji also separately to teach me, how is it possible to reach extraordinary levels of busyness and success and still be very grounded and pass that on to your children? It was so evident in the talk you gave, sir, that it is so evident that India, the next century we know is going to be Asia's. India, because of our democracy, because of our demographic profile, we are poised to take the world on. We are so glad to have you support us in our vision that data becomes how India leapfrogs into the future and claims its space in the world. Thank you, Suresh Prabhu, Mam. This the communication. But Dhanyosmi, sir, thank you so much.
Thank you. God bless you. Thank you.